The world remembers moments, not always months or years. Today, we step into the final 24 hours of Adolf Hitler, a period of chilling finality beneath the crumbling city of Berlin in April 1945. This narrative serves purely educational purposes, offering a historical account of a man who ignited a global war and led humanity through one of its darkest chapters. We neither endorse nor condemn. Our aim is to illuminate history, provide English practice, and understand the precise sequence of events at the very end of his life. For his complete biography, please explore our channel. But now, we focus on the end of everything, a story unfolding like a film, yet rooted in stark reality. Welcome to the last day of a figure the world will never forget. This is not political, it is a historical moment. Part 1, April 29th, 1945. The bunker, the bride, the breaking point. Night had fallen deeply. Above ground, Berlin was engulfed in flames. But deep within the cold, concrete bunker, time itself seemed to slow. Adolf Hitler, 56, sat alone. He knew the war was irrevocably lost, the city above being devoured street by the Soviet army, and death was mere hours away. Yet, in this grim silence, he made a peculiar decision. Prepare for a wedding? He instructed his assistant. Tonight, I will marry Eva. Why now? After 14 years of a clandestine relationship, why choose the world's end to finally formalize their union? Eva Braun had been with Hitler since she was 17, living perpetually in his shadow, unseen by the public eye. Never in photos, never acknowledged in speeches, she had waited quietly, faithfully, for over a decade. Her previous attempts on her life stemmed not from his direct harm, but from feeling utterly invisible. Still, she stayed, believing in him, and in his final moments, she refused to abandon the bunker, even as others pleaded for her escape. It was then he understood this woman followed him not for power or wealth, but out of a blind, personal loyalty. With the city collapsing and the bunker walls trembling, he declared, "She deserves my name, even if only for a few more hours." This was no act of romance or love. It was an act of control, ritual, and ultimate finality. He sought to orchestrate his own end, with every detail meticulously arranged: a marriage, a will, a final speech, a planned demise. It was the prelude to his goodbye. In a small, dimly lit room, the wedding commenced. There were no flowers, no music, only the scratch of pens on paper and the distant rumble of explosions. Eva Braun wore a pale blue silk dress, her face eerily calm, as if she had accepted her fate. Hitler, in a simple black suit, devoid of medals or uniform, stood before a civil officer. When asked the traditional question, he simply said yes. And so, after 14 years, they were married. The small staff attempted a celebration. A table was set, champagne uncorked, but no one drank, no one laughed. The atmosphere was too heavy, too laden with dread. An officer later remarked, "It felt more like a funeral than a wedding." Immediately after, Hitler moved to his desk. With a trembling hand and vacant eyes, he began dictating his final words, his political testament. His secretary, Trottel Junge, typed every sentence. There was no apology, no tears, no admission of failure. Instead, he blamed the Jews for the war, accused his own generals of betrayal, and asserted that history would vindicate him, though he would not live to see it. Then came a clear command. I do not want my body to be captured. I want it to be burned. He remembered Mussolini's gruesome end, his body hanged and desecrated. He would not suffer the same. Slowly, carefully, he signed the document, his last command. It was nearly 500 a.m. Having finished, Hitler went to rest, not to sleep, for sleep eluded everyone that night, but to lie down and wait. Outside, Berlin was tearing itself apart. Soviet tanks crushed the last Nazi defenses, buildings crumbled to ash, and German citizens above ground ran, cried, and died. Yet, inside the bunker, time seemed suspended. Thick walls, still air. It was a world trapped in glass, frozen, yet shaking with every external explosion. Eva sat beside him, holding his hand. They spoke little, needing no words. This was their honeymoon and their funeral. Hitler's valet brought a small breakfast, dry bread, a little honey, tea. He ate sparingly, looking thinner than ever. His face had aged decades in a month. His right hand trembled. His eyes were dull, his voice a soft whisper. He spoke not of war, escape, or hope, but sat in silence with Eva, sipping tea as bombs rocked the earth. Then the message arrived. Heinrich Himmler, his loyal second for years, had attempted to secretly negotiate peace with the Allies without Hitler's authorization. Hitler stared at the report, then erupted. He shouted, screamed, pounded the table. Traitor! Betrayer! I should have known. He ordered Himmler's arrest, but deep down, he knew there was no one left to enforce it. The system he built was collapsing. For the first time, even Hitler appeared defeated. His eyes quieted. He leaned back. The true end had begun. Part 2, April 29th, 1945. Afternoon to late evening. Noon arrived. The bunker air grew heavy, stale, devoid of sunlight or fresh oxygen, thick with fear. Adolf Hitler moved slowly into the map room, once a hub of strategic planning. Here, he had commanded armies pointed at nations. Now, the maps were meaningless, the lines on them vestiges of a broken empire. He gazed at them not to plan, but to remember victories that had become a graveyard of dreams. His body trembled, his legs weak. His doctor offered medicine. He refused, understanding this was no longer a war room, but a museum of his failure. Hitler's most trusted companion was Blondie, his German shepherd, who had been by his side for years. Now, he summoned his doctor, Werner Hayes, and gave a shocking command. Bring the cyanide capsules. I want to test them on Blondie. He trusted no one, not even the poison provided by his own people. Fearing betrayal, fake capsules, and a prolonged agony, the doctor administered a capsule to Blondie. Within seconds, she was dead, without a sound, without a struggle. Hitler said nothing, then looked away. The poison worked. He could use it too. For many in the bunker, this act was a turning point. Killing the one living thing he truly trusted confirmed his ultimate plan. He would not leave. He would not survive. He would die. The grim purge continued. Eva's two Scottish terriers, Wolf and Stasi, were next. Blondie's puppies, mere weeks old, were also killed by Hitler's dog handler, poisoned silently, swiftly. He sought total erasure, leaving nothing behind, no body, no bloodline, no animal, no memory. The bunker became a chamber of annihilation. If I'm going, he thought, everything I touched, everything I loved must vanish too. That afternoon, Hitler gathered his remaining officers, men who had served him for years. They stood before a man who looked tired, sunken, already half dead. Some pleaded one last time, "Mein Führer, we can still escape. There's a plane, we'll disguise you, take you south." He slowly shook his head. "No, I will not run. I will not be captured. I will stay here. I will die here in Berlin." Some were shocked, others scared, some silently relieved, now free to leave without guilt. He granted permission for others to attempt escape through the sewers. Officers, drivers, and aides prepared to depart that night, most destined to die or be captured. But Hitler was done moving, done speaking, done fighting. Back in his room, Hitler sat with Eva Braun. She had changed into a simple dark blue dress, no makeup, no jewelry. She had not cried all day, shown no fear. She was ready. Hitler looked at her. "You still have time. You can leave, go with them, escape." She smiled gently. "No, I stay with you." It was not love nor passion, but a cold, blind loyalty. They sat in silence, without music or conversation, only the distant sounds of Berlin's collapse. Hitler called in his secretaries, his aides, his inner circle. One by one, he shook their hands, offering no speeches, no lengthy goodbyes. He simply said, "Thank you. You may go now." Secretary Gerda Christian later recalled him looking like a ghost, yet still polite. Some wept, some held his hand longer than they should have, but Hitler's face remained blank, emotionless, calm, as if he were already gone. It was the end of a chapter. The people who once surrounded him like a king now walked away, leaving him alone with his wife and his death. Strangely, the night grew quiet. Hitler ate a small meal, bread and tea. He sat with Eva, speaking little. Outside, the bombs intensified. The Soviets were blocks away. Gunfire echoed from the garden above. But inside, Hitler was still writing in his notebook. No orders, no news updates. His war was over. He rose slowly, his legs weak, his walk deliberate. He entered his private bedroom, Eva following. The door closed. Guards stood outside, but no one was permitted entry. It was not a night for sleep, but for preparation. By sunrise, everything would end. Part 3, April 30th, 1945, the final hours. As April 30th dawned, time inside the FU bunker lost all meaning. Above ground, Berlin crumbled street by street, constant explosions, gunfire, shells, human screams. The Soviets were at the gates. Inside, silence reigned. Hitler lay in bed, eyes open, fixed on the ceiling, not sleeping. Eva Braun was beside him, quiet, peaceful, already emotionally detached. She knew this was her final night. Down the hallway, staff members whispered, unsure what to say. The bunker had become a waiting room for death. Hitler rose slowly, carefully, his steps weak, his back bent, his clothes loose on his thin frame. He walked into the hallway, his eyes scanning the faces of his few remaining loyalists. No anger, no panic, just a profound stillness, like a man who had already bid farewell to the world within his heart. He sat in the dining room with Eva. They ate a small breakfast, as always dry bread and tea. Eva attempted a smile. Hitler tried to remain calm. Everyone knew this was not a meal, but a ritual before self-execution. Hitler summoned his aide, Otto Giunenci, and issued two precise orders. First, after he and Eva were dead, their bodies must be immediately carried outside and burned. Second, the burning must be absolute, leaving no trace. He reminded Otto of Mussolini's fate, hung upside down, spat upon, publicly mocked. "That will not happen to me," Hitler declared. "You must burn us, no matter what it takes." Otto nodded, his face pale, hands trembling, but he agreed. Disobedience was not an option, even now. Hitler dressed, not in uniform, but a plain military jacket, buttoned fully, and dark trousers. Eva donned a dark blue silk dress, her favorite, no jewelry, just soft perfume. She carefully brushed her hair, like a bride preparing for her final hour. Then Hitler walked into the hallway, meeting his personal staff one by one. He shook each hand slowly, quietly. To some, a word, to others, a nod. "Thank you," he told Trottel Junge. "You may leave now. You have served me well." Some wept. Others froze, unable to articulate a goodbye. One officer, Rochesmish, later remembered, "He looked like a shadow, not a man." He was calm, but the calm of someone who has given up. The goodbyes continued, devoid of ceremony or tears from him, only silence. Hitler and Eva returned to their private room. Eva sat on the sofa, calm, unafraid. She opened a small brass capsule of cyanide, holding it, looking at him. They had discussed this repeatedly. They would not be captured by the Soviets. They would die together, on their own terms. Hitler held a similar capsule, but also prepared his Walther pistol, a weapon he had used for years. He planned to take both the pill and the bullet, ensuring absolute certainty. He called in Otto Gu Nanshi and his valet, Heinz Linge. "The time has come," he told them. "You will wait outside. When it is over, open the door." Otto and Heinz nodded. They walked to the hallway, standing in silence a few feet from the door. Inside, Hitler and Eva sat together on the sofa. 3:30 p.m., the final act. No one witnessed the exact events inside, but those outside heard a single sound, a gunshot. Otto and Heinz rushed in. What they found would become one of the most discussed scenes in modern history. Hitler was slumped on the sofa, lifeless, a small hole in his right temple, blood splattered on the floor and wall. Eva lay beside him, unwounded, but a faint scent of bitter almonds, cyanide, hung in the air. Both were dead. The man who once commanded millions is now a silent, lifeless figure in an underground room. As ordered, Otto and Heinz began their task. They wrapped the bodies in thick gray blankets, carried them up the narrow staircase, through the tight hallway, and out into the Chancellery garden. It was still daylight, artillery fire shaking the ground. The Soviets were mere blocks away. They placed the bodies in a shallow crater near the bunker exit, then poured can after can of gasoline over them. Otto lit a match, dropped it. Flames erupted. The bodies began to burn. No music, no prayer, no soldiers, no flag. Just fire, smoke, and silence. They saluted the flames, then ran back into the bunker as gunfire cracked overhead. Inside, the remaining staff gathered. Otto reported, "The Führer is dead. His body has been burned. No celebration, no ceremony, just stunned, pale faces and empty eyes." For a moment, silence. Then someone whispered, "It's over." And just like that, everything Hitler built, controlled, and dreamed was now ashes in a garden. Part 4, April 30th, 1945, 400 p.m. onward, the aftermath. Outside, in the Chancellery garden, The bodies of Hitler and Eva Braun continued to burn, black smoke rising. The flames, initially strong, quickly weakened due to rain-soaked ground and limited gasoline. More fuel was poured, relit, but the bodies would not burn completely. Inside the bunker, people waited in silence, no talk of future, no plans, just frozen fear, knowing the Soviets could arrive at any moment. Before his death, Hitler had named Admiral Karl Dönitz as the new leader of Germany, bypassing Himmler and Goebbels. Dönitz, in northern Germany, received the message with shock. Germany was collapsing, the capital lost, yet he was now head of a dead empire. He immediately sought peace negotiations with the Allies, hoping to surrender to the West, not the Soviets. Inside the Fu bunker, a profound shift occurred. The man who controlled everything was gone. No more orders, no more leadership, no future for the remaining secretaries, cooks, aides, and soldiers. The grim reality sank in. We are no longer part of a government, we are part of a grave. Some began packing small bags, warm coats, food, water, maps. Escape was imperative. The Soviets were closing in. Capture meant torture or death. But there was no clear exit. With Hitler gone, Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister, became the most senior Nazi official in the bunker. He was not surprised. He had been present for Hitler's farewell. Goebbels had no intention of running or surrendering. He called his wife, Magda. We will not leave. We will not live in a world without him. Together, they made a terrifying decision. They would die there, and they would kill their 6 children. Their choice horrified even the remaining staff, but no one dared argue. While Goebbels prepared for death, others planned their escape. A group of guards, officers, and bunker staff strategized routes out of Berlin. Some attempted secret tunnels. Others disguised themselves as civilians. Some waited for darkness to slip out under gunfire. The first group, about 20 people, left before sunset in civilian clothes with light bags. But above ground, chaos reigned. Soviet tanks rolled in, gunfights erupted on every corner, fires lit the sky. Few escaped, most were killed or captured within hours. Otto Jew Nenshi and Heinz Linge returned to the garden to check on Hitler and Eva's remains. What they found was disturbing. The bodies were still partly visible. Skin burned, clothes blackened, but bones and faces not fully destroyed. They poured more fuel, burned again, but it was insufficient. They then gathered the partially burned remains and buried them in a shallow crater near the exit, covering them with dirt, broken wood, and debris. No cross, no sign. They wanted the bodies to disappear forever. Back underground, Magda Goebbels gave her 6 children, aged 4 to 12, sleeping pills. Dressed in clean white clothes, they fell into a deep sleep. She then brought in an SSS doctor who helped her administer cyanide capsules to the sleeping children. They died silently without waking. Joseph and Magda Goebbels then went to the garden, to the same spot where Hitler and Eva had died. They sat together. Joseph shot himself in the head. Magda took poison. Their bodies were also burned, though not completely. By now, the bunker was becoming a mass graveyard. Hope had abandoned the bunker. Senior leaders were dead. Streets were overrun. The sky blazed with fire and gunshots. No help was coming. Some cried, some drank, some prayed. Others sat quietly, staring at walls. No one knew what came next. One thing was clear: this was no longer a war. It was simply the end of everything. Part 5, May 1st to May 9th, 1945. The truth uncovered. The bunker was darker than ever. The man it was built to protect was gone. His wife, his dogs, his generals, his closest circle, all dead or fleeing. Yet the war above raged on. Soviet soldiers fought street by street in Berlin. Bullets flew, grenades exploded, bodies fell. Inside the bunker, only a few remained, afraid, hungry, trapped, unsure if they would be killed or captured. That night, Admiral Karl D. Nitz's voice was heard on German radio from northern Germany. He announced Adolf Hitler's death, but omitted the cause. The Fu Hrer has fallen in battle fighting for Germany. He declared a lie the world would soon recognize. The truth, suicide, was concealed to preserve Hitler's image, even in death. But the truth would emerge. At last, Soviet troops reached the Reich Chancellery, the building above the Fu Hrer bunker. They eliminated or arrested the last defenders, then stormed the ruins. Descending into the bunker, they found it cold, dark, half-flooded, filled with smoke, broken furniture, maps blood. Burned papers, scattered food, unmade beds, poison capsules remained. But Hitler's body was missing. The Soviets searched every room, questioned survivors, explored tunnels, scoured the garden. Then, in a shallow crater near the bunker entrance, they found something, a burned male body with a bullet hole in the skull. A half-burned female body with no visible wounds, remnants of clothing, boots, buttons, a dental bridge. They suspected these were Hitler and Eva Braun, but the bodies were too badly burned for immediate confirmation. They collected the remains, hid them, took photographs, and began secret autopsies. In Moscow, Joseph Stalin received the news. He saw the bodies, heard the reports. But instead of informing the world, he ordered silence. Stalin wanted control over the truth. If we don't confirm Hitler's death, he reasoned, the world will remain uncertain. And so, Stalin began one of history's greatest mysteries. Without official Soviet confirmation, rumors spread Hitler escaped to Argentina. It was a body double, a fake body. He was hiding, waiting to return. These theories became legends. Despite his staff witnessing his death and his body being found, people believed the lie. When truth is hidden, fiction flourishes. Decades passed before full confirmation. Here is what actually happened. Soviet doctors conducted autopsies on the burned bodies. They compared dental records, then the most reliable identification method. Hitler's dental assistant, a war survivor, later confirmed the records. Her testimony matched the burned jawbone found in the garden. That jawbone, with its distinctive gold bridgework, was Hitler's. The Soviets kept it hidden for over 20 years. Only in the 1990s, after the Soviet Union's collapse, did they finally admit, yes, yet the body we found was Adolf Hitler. With Hitler gone, Goebbels gone, and Berlin fallen, nothing remained. On May 7th, Germany officially surrendered to the Allies. On May 9th, they surrendered to the Soviet Union. The war in Europe was over. Nazi Germany was dead. The Third Reich, once terrifying and global, ended in a bunker, in silence and flames. The news spread rapidly. Newspapers screamed, "Hitler dead? Suicide confirmed! Germany surrenders!" War in Europe ends. Some celebrated, some wept privately, some refused to believe. How could a man who unleashed such horror end his life in a quiet room with a pill and a gun? It felt empty, too easy. But that was the truth. He did not die in battle, did not face justice, did not beg for mercy. He died by his own hand underground, surrounded by fear, failure, and fire. The Soviets destroyed most of the bunker, blowing up the entrance, covering the ruins with concrete, attempting to erase it. For decades, its location was secret. Today, the site is a simple parking lot in Berlin. No signs, no memorials, no statue, because Germany chose never to glorify the place where evil ended. And that is powerful. This is the true historical account of Adolf Hitler's final 24 hours. Told not to praise, support, or attack, but to learn, understand, and remember. What do we learn? No matter how powerful someone becomes, if they lead through fear and hate, they will always fall in silence and shame. History is not just facts, it is understanding the cost of blind leadership, war, and destruction. The most dangerous leaders are not the loudest, they are the ones followed without question. And if we fail to learn from the past, we risk repeating its mistakes. This narrative also aids English practice through deep storytelling, emotional vocabulary, and clear sentence structure. If this story resonated, if you learned something and desire more true, emotional, and educational videos, please subscribe. Every video here is crafted to help you learn, grow, and strengthen your English and your life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next powerful story.